The global economic collapse is on, but in this topsy-turvy world now, instead of the stock market assets declining, they are rising. Simultaneously, poverty, homelessness, and social assistance programs continue to expand. You came here for the truth. Today, I want to look at the UK with food inflation. I want to show you a whole bunch of charts, and I want to cover way too much info, as always. You can see that my videos have started to expand like the debt has and become a little longer than they were in the past, and many people have requested that they not be so long. So I'm going to try to be, not necessarily cut anything out, but try to be more concise. So anyway, want to hear what you have to say about that. Let's begin right here with this Snapchat. I've been covering it since the IPO, and what we have here is a decline. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this is a perfect example of when individuals who are not sophisticated investors are getting into investing. In fact, one of the primary investors in Snapchat are millennials. And these individuals aren't aware of the ins and outs of the stock market. They use the app and they simply purchased shares of the company using an app, which is interesting. But anyway, in the short term, I see this to be a pump and dump. Perhaps in the long term, we won't have that to be the case. But at least in the short term, that's what's happening. And all that I see is the general mistake from people is that they get into something without knowing what it is, just trying to make a buck. Food inflation doubles in a month as UK shoppers start to feel the pinch. So what do we have here? We got a stick of butter, that's right. But if you want it, you got to pay 15% more. Fish is up 8% and tea is up 6%. And this here hurts people's pocketbooks. I mean, this is the ultimate. If you want to hurt a country, if you want to hurt the citizens, you have to destroy the food supply. You have to make it more expensive. You have to do something. The food is where people freak out very rapidly. And this, you'll see that it's happening right now, as I've mentioned many times before, in Caracas, in Venezuela. People are struggling so bad right now. It is so hurtful to see. And I understand that you compare the UK to Venezuela. It's not really a fair judgment, but things happen very, very quickly. The inflation rates in Venezuela went from being, let's say moderately bad to extreme in a short period of time. And then you look at all throughout history, hyperinflations happen very fast. And that's why you look back and people would say, well, why didn't they do this or why didn't they do that? Because it happened so fast. They couldn't even react. All right. Moving on quickly. Household net worth. You can see it increasing and increasing so dramatically over the years. What's happening here? Financial accounts of the United States in billions of dollars. So you see that people, nominally, they are doing well. And it's not just the US. Look at Canada, for example. More and more wealth being accumulated. But is it actual wealth? Are people doing better than they were before? I would have to disagree. Moving on. Increasingly inefficient asset bubble, something that I've covered hundreds of times before. Ratio of household net worth to nominal final sales to domestic purchases. And then this paragraph is important. Each bubble becomes increasingly inefficient, requiring more and more, quote, effort just to stand still and less room to gain even artificial growth. And that's what we saw during the financial crisis in particular. When you see this crash coming down big time, and then it becomes, rather stagnant on the way back up. It doesn't really show you that in this chart, but all of the growth has been very stagnant and it takes a longer period of time to grow again. The crashes are getting deeper, the rises are getting more dramatic. And this is something that's very frightening because the stock market took a heavy hit during the financial crisis. So imagine what the crash will look like the next time around. The loans are expanding. I just wanted to show you that. You can see the banking sector and non-bank sector basically. I just wanted to show you that more people taking out more money from the banks ultimately. Flow of funds, the total credit, same situation here. And then you have this. They're basically suggesting you should be long robots and short humans. And that is the US manufacturing jobs declining and the global industrial robots rising. It's just a fact. That's what's happening these days. All right, now this is what pisses me off. This is something that I'm just going to bring out. I'm just going to say it and I'm going to speak my mind. This individual, two individuals here actually, went on a trip to Canada. They were stopped by the Border Patrol. One of the officers calls me out and says, "Hey, give me your phone." And he says, "No, I have already gone through this." And the officer asked a second time. Within seconds, he was around it. One man held his legs, another squeezed his throat from behind. A third reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone, and they choked the hell out of him. They did that to his girlfriend as well. So, do they have a right to do so? What do you think? You think they can just grab your pocket, pull out the phone, demand the password? You think they can just choke you? You think they can do whatever the hell they want to you? You have liberty, but not because the government granted it to you. You have liberty because you're a human being. You were given that by the Creator, and you deserve every piece of freedom. And nobody can take that away. When we acquiesce to the madness, they will definitely and assuredly stomp on our skulls every chance they get. And people always comment, you get those few every once in a while telling me I'm a fear monger and all this stuff. And I know that 90% of the people we're on the same page. But when I see those sort of 10% of people, those are the people that you run into on the streets. Most of us were like-minded. We all agree with this and everything else. But then you see those other 10% of the people who don't realize, because they probably got a lot invested in the stock markets and everything else, and they don't know, they don't have that sophistication, and they hate reading this type of information. But you have to understand what's coming. The bigger picture. It's not about the stock market. It's not about bonds and treasuries. It's about the bigger picture. And they hate you and I. Got to get it through your head. And this here, just more interconnected here. Italy vows to uphold free speech after clashes, which I find very interesting. But the only reason I'm mentioning this here is that there is going to be war on the streets. There are going to be clashes. There are going to be chaos and civil unrest, and whether it happens for food prices rising or whether it happens because of a civil war going on or anything else. But a lot of people are going to be hurt by this, and ultimately there's going to be a disruption. If you're working and that was your building right there and you had to get to work, or that was your home, what are you going to do? This is the type of thing that we're running into these days, and people still aren't waking up. When major cities have their streets being burned and people still aren't waking up, I don't know what else it's going to have to take. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you will find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. Look, you can actually flip through the pages. go over to Amazon. They have this thing called a look inside feature, and that will allow you to flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care.